talk a little bit about COVID, but you guys still have been pretty busy. You released roll the tapes, and now your solo album. You got the nominee for Mile 12 for Best New Artist for IBMA, and you're also nominated for that collaboration with Becky Buller. Talk a little bit about playing with other fiddlers, and particularly you seem to play a lot with other female fiddlers. One of memory from last year at Gettysburg was when you and Ainsley Porchak were playing with Becky in a song, and that was just fantastic with the three fiddles.
I mean, yeah, it's a pretty cool thing, you know. But yeah, I think I just like playing with other fiddlers in general. Yeah, playing with Becky is always a treat. She's been kind enough to have me up on a lot of different festival sets over the years. And also, I've gotten to do a lot of fiddling with Laura Orshaw, who plays with the Poe Ramlin Boys, and we just got to be friends in Boston, over the last, 5 or 6 years, and just I think our styles kind of really matched. She's been a big influence on me, and so when we play twin, I think we can really sync up really
And
close.
she's one of the artists that's guests on your album, so maybe this is a good time to kind of shift to your album. A lot of other names on there, and a lot of people with New England connections. Of course, Wes Corbett produced it for you and played some banjo. Tim OBrien, I didn't realize he was from West Virginia, but he dropped out of Colby when he was in college. So he has that Maine connection. And of course, Sierra Hall and Sarah Jaros and Laura, you mentioned. Is that something that just comes from having spent time there, or are these just people you've gotten to know outside of it, New England?
Yeah, well, Sierra and Sarah, definitely got to know up in Boston during my college years. Sarah was going to New England Conservatory at the time, and Sierra was at Berkeley. So we just kind of met through pickin' parties up there. And same with Wes. Wes was teaching at Berkeley while I was there, and I actually took a semester of lessons with him, like sort of more general musical lessons. I was playing fiddle. And and when I moved down to Nashville, Wes was kind enough to let me rent a room in his house for a couple months and sort of get my bearings. So one of the cool things about that time was that we just got to play a lot of fiddle banjo tunes. Kind of like every morning we'd get up and have breakfast and then jam for an hour or so. So that was definitely like a big like inspiration for the album and for having Wes be involved in the album.
And what was the motivation to do a solo project?
Man, I think part of it was moving down here to Nashville and getting really inspired about traditional bluegrass again. I think I would go through phases of being excited about it and then more thinking about Mall 12's original music, and being down here definitely made me want to record some more traditional sounding music. Yeah, and just kind of put something out there with my name on it, and it's just a snapshot in time, as like all albums are, it's what I sounded like a year after being in Nashville for a year, so.
How different was it being your own project? You being in charge of everything.
Yeah, it was way different. Kind of overwhelming at first when I decided to do it, and Wes was a huge help with brainstorming and being able to bounce ideas off of. But it was definitely my first time putting out anything that I was in charge of, and especially like putting it out independently, not through a label, was a ton of work and like a huge learning experience. Like there were so many things that I didn't even know I didn't know until I came across them and had to figure them out. But it was actually super fun too. It's a lot of responsibility to like ask a whole bunch of A-list musicians to be on your album, and then be in charge of telling them what to play and how to arrange it, and kind of scary, but kind of fun too.
Now, when and how was it recorded?
It was recorded here in Nashville with Ben Surratt, who was the engineer. We did it at his studio. We did it over, I think most of it was done in about 5 days. I did a few overdubs afterwards, but it was about 5 days of tracking, and it was mixed by Dave Cinco and mastered by David Glasser.
Now, what time frame? When were you in the studio for this?
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, I was in the studio this past January.
So it was all pre-COVID.
Yeah,
Did the pandemic slow down the release at all?
a little bit. I mean, my original plan was to put it out quickly at the beginning of the summer and sell it on tour all summer long with Mile 12, but yeah, the pandemic just kind of slowed things down a little bit in terms of, the mixing had to be done over the phone rather than in person. But and I didn't have as much of an urge to get it out quite as quickly. I kept being concerned about even putting something out right now and if that's a good idea. But I just kind of figured, like, this is the time I'm going to be most excited about promoting something like this, and it's hopefully going to be most exciting for listeners if it's a new release. So I figured I'd just get it out this year, anyways.
Why do you not sing? And
Man,
I asked Chris Luquette the same thing when he released his solo album because
did he not sing?
I've heard you sing harmony. I mean, I know you can. So
Yeah, well, I don't know. You know what? I'd like to sing on future albums. It's something I've been working on recently, but it kind of felt like for that one, it wasn't something I'd been working on that much, and I kind of wanted that album to showcase the best of what I could offer and the best of what these guest musicians could offer. So, they're way better singers than I am, so I kind of wanted it to just be the best thing it could be.
now, four of the songs are your own compositions. And let's first talk though. How did you pick the others, the ones that you didn't write?
Yeah, well, I knew I like kind of some of my favorite bluegrass albums are ones that are a combination of singing songs and instrumentals. So I wanted to do an album like that because, one of my favorite things about bluegrass fiddle is playing behind a singer. So I definitely wanted to include that. I'd kind of been keeping a Spotify playlist of a bunch of songs that I liked that I thought maybe could be either Mile 12 covers down the road or just things that I thought I hadn't heard a lot of other people do. So I kind of had this whole playlist going for the last couple years. So I definitely picked a few songs off of that. Um, and also once we kind of narrowed down who was going to be the guest singer on there, it made it easier to choose material for them. One of the songs I didn't choose or that I didn't pick at first was the song that Tim OBrien sang lead on. He actually This was a song that he brought to me, which was super cool. I asked him, what he'd want to sing on it, and he suggested this Thomas More poem that he'd put music to. So he'd kind of, I guess it was a song and it had other melody, but he kind of put a new melody to it, and it kind of seemed like the perfect thing. Tim's got Irish influences too, and it's sort of like a little bit Irish sounding, a little bit bluegrass sounding. So I was really excited that he was willing to kind of offer this song for the record.
Let's run through the songs on the album and talk a little bit about each one. Hendersonville Hop, of course, is one you wrote yourself. I think you said you wrote it in the van.
Yeah, I was on tour last year, and you kind of if you want to practice at all on tour, you got to be pretty creative about your practice space. We were staying at someone's house, and I didn't want to bother them in the morning by playing fiddle. So I went out to the van and was trying to play in the van, which is not a great idea. I think that was kind of the one time I tried to do that. But I think I already I knew I was going to try to make an album, and I was starting to try to come up with some original tunes. So that was where that one came out of. The second tune is Last Train, so that's the one Sarah Giroux sang lead on. And I knew I wanted kind of a vibey tune for her, something that was kind of modal or minor. So I did some digging, and that one kind of jumped out as that it could be kind of spooky and kind of cool. It's a Peter Rowan song.
Then Fiddler's Pastime, Bill Monroe.
Yeah,
And
that was
UFR.
Yeah, I sort of learned in like looking for the copyright and everything for this tune that it's like a Bill Monroe and Vassar Clements co-write, and I guess Bill Monroe got the writing credit, but from all accounts online, it's Vassar contributed to it too. Yeah, you know, I was looking for something that sounded bluegrassy. I kind of wanted a trad tune for Laura and I to do, and I wanted something with like enough meat on it and enough parts that it could be just all fiddle all the way through. So this tune, it's got like, I guess it's kind of an ABCB form. It's got kind of 4 parts, and we kind of just played fiddle all the way through and alternated playing twin and taking some solos.
Sierra's on Open Water.
Yeah, Open Water. That was the first tune I started writing for the album. I started writing it last IBMA. Had a lot of free time. I think I was practicing. I don't know if you can picture the stairwell that goes in between the conference center and the hotel with that escalator. There's kind of a stairwell right next to the escalator, and I was hiding on the stairwell trying to practice and like maybe come up with something. And I would run into someone I knew every like 5 minutes, so it's kind of a very distracted practice. But I kind of came up with the A part there.
Now, did you come up with kind of the start of it there and then refine it, or how complete was it when you left the stairwell?
I think I just got the A part. Yeah, and so all of these tunes I kind of shared co-writing credit with Wes on, because I kind of brought all of them to him in like mostly finished states, and he really helped kind of refine them, and he would suggest a different phrase here or there and a lot of chord substitutes that I hadn't thought of. So it was definitely a pretty collaborative process, which was cool, and I learned a lot from that.
A Little Trouble with James Key and Tim on harmony. It's one of my favorites on the album.
Oh man, that's cool. Yeah, James is one of my favorite pickin' buddies in town. He's an amazing singer and mandolin player, and has done a lot of touring in the past, and right now just kind of stays in Nashville mostly, and he works on a family farm and plays a lot of local gigs. I think he's probably one of the busiest people in town. So I just love his voice, and I kind of wanted to feature that on a track. So, and it was cool. I think I really shocked him by telling him Tim OBrien was going to sing tenor on his tunes. He'd never gotten to sing with Tim before, so he said it kind of made a dream come true for him. So that was
How did you pick that song? From people saying hello trouble when you come into the room, or?
Oh yeah, it happens all the time. No, man, I don't know. I heard the Lost and Found version, and I just thought it was cool, and people hadn't done it in a long time. I kind of looked for some other versions, and I just didn't see too many like recent versions. So, I just thought James sounds great in the key of B, and it could be fun.
Hello, trouble. Come on in. Well, you talk about heartaches. Where in the world you been? I ain't had the miseries since you've been gone. Hello, trouble, 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 welcome home.
You mentioned a little bit about Tim helping you pick Minstrel Boy.
Yeah, man, it was just kind of a dream come true to get to work with Tim on this. There was this moment when we got into the booths and put on our headphones, and he was kind of strumming his mandolin to tune it up, and I had this kind of freak out moment for a second where like I'd heard that mandolin sound on so many albums, and it just suddenly really dawned on me that like it was going to be on my album and that I was going to be recording with him, and it was like just a pretty cool moment. Yeah, that was a fun day. We tracked it really quickly. We kind of arranged it in the studio, and it just kind of fell into place. That's kind of one of my favorite tracks on there, and it was kind of one of the easiest to record too.
Proud soul under, and the harp he loved never spoke again, for it tore its cords asunder.
And working with Tim, I've got to imagine, even though he's a bigger name and so forth, he's got to be pretty easy to work with, I would guess. I sat in. I play no music, but at Common Ground on the Hill, I sat in on a lecture he did, a lesson, a mandolin lesson, and it was amazing how much I learned without even knowing any of the basics. But then talking to him afterwards, he's just such an easygoing guy. Was he really easy to work with?
Oh yeah, he's just so relaxed, and I think that kind of rubbed off on everyone. Like, I think everyone was more relaxed, and it was actually the last song we tracked. So we'd all gotten pretty comfortable with each other in the studio over the last week or so, but yeah, I think everyone sort of, just seeing how relaxed Tim was, could kind of breathe a sigh of relief, even though I think everyone was probably like a little, on their best behavior, because we're getting to record with Tim OBrien, so we were all a little, trying really hard.
Waltz, another one of your compositions, a little bit of sad inspiration behind it. But tell us a little bit about the story and the inspiration for the song.
Yeah, I wrote that for a cousin of mine who passed away last year, and it was kind of a really sudden thing. It was kind of crazy. We had seen each other last March at a family reunion in Sedona, Arizona, and it was the first time we'd seen each other in a couple of years, and we had a great visit, and kind of no one knew anything was wrong. I don't think she really even did. And then about 3 days later, I was in the UK. Actually, I'd flown pretty much straight to the UK after that, and was on that UK tour, and got the news that she was suddenly in the hospital with, like, I think it was stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and she passed away like a couple days later. She passed away on St. Patrick's Day, actually. So it was kind of a super shocking turn of events, but also really nice that we'd at least gotten to spend some time together like a week before. So that kind of.
How soon after her passing did you write the song?
It's probably a month after. I got back from that tour and was kind of thinking about it, and at least I started some of the ideas for it. I think I fleshed it out in the fall. Some of these tunes, there's been little pieces of them floating around for a while.
It's certainly a beautiful tribute to your cousin.
Thanks.
And then you kind of segue right into Happy Hollow.
Exactly, gotta cheer things up. Yeah, so that was the Banjo Fiddle tune that Wes and I did, and that definitely, the inspiration from that just came from our, morning fiddle banjo jams the year before. So that's a kind of a fun one. It's like an old-timey tune. I learned it just up in Boston. It got to be a really popular tune in the Boston bluegrass scene. I've heard it credited to a banjo player from North Carolina called Dora Evans. So, yeah.
Natchez Whistle.
Natchez Whistle. Oh yeah, man, this is a cool one. This one I was
This
trying
year
to...
you've got to have a John Hartford song. It's kind of the year of John Hartford.
I thought I heard that Natchez whistle blow. I thought I heard that Natchez whistle blow. Well, it blowed so low, it blowed so sweet, I was laying my head down on Toulouse Street. I thought I heard that Natchez whistle blow.
Yeah, it's funny living in Madison. You know, I'm pretty close to his old house, and I've been spending a lot of time on the river this summer. You know, with all the quarantine stuff, and just like floating by his house, and that's kind of cool to get to see it from the river. But yeah, this was one I'd kind of liked for a long time, and I wasn't quite sure what to do with it. I think when I suggested it to Chris to sing, I kind of had more of a bluegrass version in mind with like banjo and sort of a whole band version. And then he came back with this like super cool finger-picked, really mellow version that I hadn't even thought of, and we decided to go with that. I thought it was beautiful and kind of needed a really sparse instrumentation, so we just made it down to bass and fiddle and guitar and vocals. So it's kind of a nice palate cleanser on the record. I think there's a lot of stuff that's pretty full on bluegrass.
And then you close out with another one featuring James and Tim, and I Don't Know Why.
Yeah, just kind of a party tune. Yeah, this one was fun.
I don't know why it is that I love you. I don't know why it is that I cry. Oh, you have gone and now you love another. That's why I cry. I don't know why.
I think this one was one I was trying to get Mile 12 to do, and it kind of just never happened. And but I just always thought it was a really catchy tune. I love the chorus. I love like the harmony, like where the tenor line goes on the chorus, and I kind of thought it would sound really cool on the fiddle. So decided to kick it off that way on the fiddle. And, yeah, I think that one turned out pretty fun.
So where do we go from here now?
Yeah, I think we're still kind of in a holding pattern to some degree. I don't think we have anything booked for the rest of the year that I know of that's likely to happen. And I think, we've had a lot of bookings move to next year, but it's all kind of tentative. So the one thing that we're talking about with Mile 12 is to start working up some new material so that when we do play, we can kind of hit the ground running with some new stuff and hopefully record a new album in the not too distant future. So I know Evan's been writing a lot of material in this last couple months. So we were talking about maybe having some kind of band retreat this fall. All get together somewhere.
Fiddler's Pastime. It's going to be released officially September
4th.
Okay, and but it's pre-order and everything right now. All the major streaming services.
Yep, it'll be streaming everywhere. You can pre-order through my website, www.BronwynKeith-Hynes.com, and yeah, I'm excited to get it out there.
Well, thank you very much for taking some time with us this morning. We appreciate it, and good luck. I hope that we see Mile 12 back on the road real soon.
I hope so, too.
I don't know why it is that I love you. I don't know why it is that I cry. For you have gone and now you love another. That's why I cry. I don't know